How's it going, everybody? This is Rob Novakast, back with another, I guess, rebuttal video. And let's talk about AE, or the Alveolar Echinococcosis, which is apparently a rare parasitic disorder in humans, which occurs after ingesting the eggs of a tapeworm. So, for those who don't know, this is actually, again, by the way, keyword rare thing that happens, where it's this rare parasite that causes cancer-like growths in people, or people's livers, and as, I guess, at this point, become increasingly common in North America over the past decade, including portions in Canada, which apparently, to some extent, this is, or at least Canada is where it originated, especially towards Europe. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, in one of K9-Aversion's videos, she decided to talk about this and claim this, that they're trying to make it out as if this is the end-all to why we should ban all dogs. Yeah. That, I mean, you got to understand the idiocy of that comment, but whatever. So, in the two articles that she graciously posts, it goes into brief detail about what the parasitic disorder is, what it's caused, and how to prevent it. That's another thing you should keep in mind, how to prevent it. Now, to this large degree, or at least to a certain degree, I should say, I asked you guys to go check it out. It's actually a really interesting read, especially when it comes down to discussing where this parasitic organism comes from, especially when it comes down to originally, I guess, for the most part, coming from foxes or coyotes, and to some extent small pets, where the parasite, or at least fecal matter that is, filled with the parasitic eggs, will be eaten by rodents, and therefore infect other foods, or at least human foods, like fruits and vegetables, and then that's how usually it's ingested. But I gotta say, it's actually a really cool read. Now, I want to, just so you guys know, I'm looking at the time when it comes down to it. I've gone over, I think it's like, just not talking about my intros, 3 minutes talking about this. 3 minutes talking about this one particular topic. Briefly giving an explanation of what it is, where it comes from, usually what's infected, the fact that it's a rare disorder, and the fact that it is preventable. Now going on to about 2 to 4 minutes. So, how is it that I'm able to briefly talk about this, and as well as reference the articles that K9-Aversion posted, but to a large degree, K9-Aversion has to spend 14 fucking minutes wasting her time on a fucking video trying to fearmonger. I'm not even joking. That is literally her video. Now, to a large degree, I have to question whether or not that there is something clearly wrong with her, considering that when it comes down to it, especially when it comes down to, her thoughts on the topic, and her not shutting up about it and discussing anything else involving human, disorders or anything else, it begs a question. Or at least I put into K9-Aversion's logic or mental fortitude into question. Is she all right? Because, let's face it, again, especially because her entire video, which is 14 minutes long, proceeds to not only gloss over the fact that this whole human disorder can be preventable, and again, it does talk about what happens if it's not treated, but at the same time, it does mention that it is, using quotes, preventable. So why is it that she thinks that this is the way, like the ultimate end all, to try to ban dogs? Because let's face it, it's not. And it also brings up the question, because every time she finds, which I would have to assume that her search history is really fucking weird, because she goes on to talk about, have a little quick little tangent about, the percentage of people that don't pick up the dog's poop. And I gotta say, again, it's a weird. Stuff like this makes me put in question, what does her search history look like? Because, good lord, if you think there's clearly something wrong with you. If you're really putting this much focus on an animal that, again, if you're not spending time with, and is at this point not in your fucking life. I mean, seriously. I don't get this whatsoever. It's odd to me. And I know some people are going to call me an asshole. Guess what? I am. There's no denying that. But at the same time, I'm putting into question her logic and whether or not she is at all sound when it comes to some of the things she says. So, when it comes down to it, again, going over just final thoughts on this. Going over some of the things that she brings up in her videos, talking about when it comes down to the parasitic thing, the parasite or the disorder that causes cancer-like growths on the body. I kind of found that to be interesting, as well as, again, because again she glosses over it, the fact that it is preventable. And that's usually another thing when it comes down to diseases that K9-Aversion likes to bring up, that dogs could contract and possibly pass on to humans, is that a lot of these can be preventable. And I have to ask, the final question of the day for everybody, or at least for this video, is if she is so worried about any type of diseases caused by humans, or actually, if anything, caused by dogs, then shouldn't she be afraid of any other disease caused by, either humans or other animals? And if that's the case, that's kind of sad. And I want to assume that she lives in a little glass bubble that is basically one of those, sanitary areas that only, certain things come in and go, and she won't do anything outside of that little bubble. Heck, I would make a Bubble Boy joke, but that's beneath me. But anyway, so to this, my last response, I know I keep saying that, but my last response to K9-Aversion: get help. Because clearly, especially since you spend all of your time focusing on an animal that really, if you don't have one in your house or don't have one near you, really, you're letting it affect you this much to the point where you're going to be dishonest, you should get help. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one. Take care. Peace. 2, 3, 5.